Let me just share my thoughts about being all in a stock, because I know it's, popular in terms of, some people thinking, oh man, I think I see such a great opportunity, I want to go all in the stock or something like that, right? My views on this is it's not worth it. My personal, the amount of stress it leads to is astronomical. As somebody who's been in the market 15 years, I've made plenty of mistakes, right? Plenty of stocks that don't work out. Every investor, doesn't matter how great a quality you are, you're going to make mistakes. Buffett sells stocks for losses. Warren Buffett, he's got unlimited experience, unlimited time on his hands to be able to spend to look into companies, and he gets stocks wrong. There's no one in the market that doesn't get some stocks wrong. And so thinking this way, right? If you are all in a stock, all it takes is one to knock you out, right? One you get really wrong, and that's all it takes to knock you out of this game, right? And so I've been through some tough stocks before that didn't work out, and I always make it through, and I never have to lower my lifestyle. Nothing like that in the past 15 years, despite being wrong, because that's what's going to happen. But if you're all in a stock and you're wrong, that's it. You're done. Your portfolio is over. Okay. I don't want to say there's no recovery for that, but the recovery time is so long to get back to where you used to be. Versus if you're diversified, 10, 20 stocks, great companies, growth stocks, value stocks, dividend stocks, it's so much less stressful. And I can tell you there's a million opportunities in the market. That you should be able to find a lot of opportunities in this market. If you can't find opportunities, you're just not looking hard enough, or you just don't know what to look for. It could be one of those two issues, okay? And so that's kind of my thoughts on that. I can tell you there's also stories, and I've been in the Tesla community so long that I've seen so many different things, right? And there were some folks that made a lot of money on Tesla, but I can tell you there's also a lot of people that were all in Tesla way before it made its massive run. And, there's people that even took it a step further and then started margining out money, right? And then as Tesla wasn't moving for many years, because Tesla stock didn't do anything for like 5-6 years, they were paying crazy amounts of margin interest year after year after year, right? And then there was people that took it to the next level, because you got to understand, once you start down this rabbit hole of like taking like crazy risk, which, going all in a stock is pretty crazy risk, then you're like, well, why would I just go all in the stock? If I believe in it so much over the next couple of years, why not go all in call options then at that point, right? And so then you get people that go all in call options, and now you need the stock price to do certain things by a certain date. And now it's more about what the stock price is going to do rather than the company, right? And that's the scary part, is you keep like, you have this tolerance, and it keeps getting higher and higher for the levels of risk you're willing to take, right? Until you get bitten so bad that you're like, oh gosh, okay. Or you just keep going down that rabbit hole. Think about it this way. You can make a great move. Next thing you know, your portfolio's $500,000, right? And then you go all in the next one, right? Or all in call options or whatever. And next thing you know, your account's at 0, or your account's at 100,000. And then it takes years to build back up to that 500K again. This is a trouble with that, and not having a well-rounded, diversified, great portfolio. Well, if Palantir turns out to be, a Salesforce type company, that would be pretty great, because you look at where Salesforce market cap is, even though it's down quite a bit from its highs, like, oh my gosh, okay. I'll be honest, I don't really see it as being a Salesforce, although that would be great. And the reason being, Salesforce just has a different culture there, man. Their company's called Salesforce. There's such a company culture around sales. And I feel like Palantir is much more of a company based around product, right? And so I don't think Salesforce necessarily ever will have maybe as great of a product as maybe Palantir has. No disrespect, Salesforce, phenomenal, right? But I also don't think Palantir will ever have the sales capabilities and sales team that a Salesforce does, right? Unless they really were to change that culture quite a bit. So, as much as I would love them to be Salesforce, I don't quite see it. Obviously, Palantir is starting to climb. We're doing very good on this position. Now we're up $18,752 on the stock in just the public account alone as of right now. Okay. Now, something very interesting happened in Palantir stock today. And it wasn't just the 14% move that was interesting, okay? Something very specific with the trading activity and action was very, very interesting, okay? And what happened was, this stock showed complete strength as the day went on and on and on. It almost closed at the highs of the day. It was absolutely incredible. Right off the bat, it made its big move, okay, to 1060, right off the bat there. And then you thought, okay, maybe that's kind of where it'll be chilling out at today. Hey, we're going to be somewhere in the, 1050 to maybe 1080 range. And what the stock did is it just kept going up and up and up and up and up throughout the day. And every single dip in Palantir stock was bought throughout the entire trading day, okay? That means you're getting some sort of momentum going into the stock of continuous buying pressure, okay? And we'll talk about who's likely putting a lot of this buying pressure, and it could be actually several different individuals and entities out there right now, okay? Now, look at the volume here today. The average volume for Palantir is around 40 million shares trade hands on a given day. Today, 165 million shares traded hands. That's an incredible number. What that basically tells me is the amount of buying pressure out there today was astronomically high, right? And obviously for every buyer, there's a seller, but in order to have somebody buying into a major position, I mean, it just puts such a crazy amount of volume in terms of that buying pressure on the stock that the only way you can basically, when you have that sort of the volume there, and you have that many buyers in the market, it's going to force the stock price up in a substantial way. And that's why the stock went up 14.5% here today. Somebody's out there doing it. So who's up to this? Okay. Well, one of the theories is Cathie Wood. Okay. So Cathie Wood bought yesterday, from what we understand, about $13 million worth of Palantir stock. That was yesterday, right? It looks like she's buying it in several different ETFs. So it's not just in one ETF, it's in several different ETFs. Now, if she was buying yesterday, there's a decent probability she could have been out there buying today as well. And if I had to guess, maybe she bought another $10 to $30 million worth of stock here today. Now, the interesting thing is, I don't think she's the only one out there buying. I think there's a lot of Wall Streeters are starting to wake up to this Palantir story. And they're starting to realize, I need to get on this train now. Okay, how are you going to be on the AI train if you're not in Palantir stock? Palantir is one of the most direct plays, in my personal opinion, on artificial intelligence in helping governments, in helping businesses make better decisions, right? And using their data to make much better decisions. And so when I look at something like Palantir, it's about the most pure play artificial intelligence stock you can possibly be in the entire market, right? Like even NVIDIA is, some people look at that as a pure play, but NVIDIA's business is so massive that, there's a lot of different components outside of AI. AI is going to be a very small amount of their business even over the next 1 to 2 years, right? Palantir is the most direct AI play, I think, in the market. And I think some are starting to slowly wake up to this idea. And I think more and more are going to wake up to this idea over this next 6 to 12 months, which means you're going to have continued buying pressure on Palantir that's going to be very substantial. Now, you tack on top of that a balance sheet that is, has $2 billion plus in cash and in short-term investments on it, right? Along with no debt. So if there's a recessionary scenario, which is always a worry out there, right? Then obviously they can make it through just fine. You're talking about a business model that's very sticky, is attracting a ton of customers. Their numbers are coming in better than expected. And we're talking about S&P 500 inclusion likely coming either at the end of this year or the beginning of 2024. You add all those things together, and I don't think there's going to be a slowdown in buying pressure on the stock anytime soon. I mean, does that mean every day the stock's going to go up 14.5%? Absolutely not, okay? But in my opinion, the buying pressure on Palantir stock is going to be intense for a year. Because you got to remember, as they get closer and closer to S&P 500 inclusion, this is going to basically start a whole cycle of people trying to funnel into this stock and buying in before that actually happens, because generally there's a huge move up once you get in the S&P 500 many times, because all these funds are forced to buy the stock. And remember, Palantir's market cap is on the lower side of the S&P 500 in general, right? We're talking about, who knows what their market cap could be when they actually enter the S&P 500. Maybe it's 40 billion, 50 billion, 60 billion. But there's going to be a huge amount of buying pressure that happens when that happens, right? Which looks pretty darn probable. It's not a for sure slam dunk thing. They got to have 2 more quarters of profitability. But based upon their market cap and based upon what's looking like profitability-wise, they're going to get in the S&P 500. And so, and everything else lines up as far as S&P 500 inclusion if you kind of look at that. So, in my opinion, the buying pressure is not going to slow anytime soon, right?